Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show to talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Snowpiercer, a great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's the whole situation, with Miles opening up, the engine room for LJ to see. And I kept wondering the entire time, I was like, okay, so why would you put so much trust in LJ? At first I was like, oh, are you going to put Melanie in this complicated situation where like LJ knows the secret? I thought that's what it was going to be. And then like it would make her be the fall guy with everything. It's like, oh, she knows the secret, so Melanie has to get rid of her. Because the way she was getting all close to Javi and everything, I was like, is that where that's going to go? I wasn't 100% sure. But then it's like, but for her, it's like, she's a bit of a thrill seeker, so she just wanted to be, oh, I'm getting so close. Oh, I could almost like, I can literally breathe on him, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna back away. And then she's going through all of Melanie stuff because for her, it's like, oh my God, I know this thing that no one else knows because it is the biggest, juiciest, dirty secret on the train. There is no Wilford, yada, 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 so on and so forth. And so I was like, okay, so it's like, how is this all going to like play out, work out? I'm curious, And then it kind of makes sense later on when LJ ends up spilling the beans to literally everyone. Even obviously everyone that's kind of against Melanie right now anyway. She basically told her parents and Nolan and just so they're kind of the head honchos with this whole like they wanted to take down Melanie anyway. This just added more fuel to the fire. It's interesting too because at the same time there's a whole situation. Well, this happens later, but it's right there in my head, so I'll talk about it. I think it's so interesting when Miles has that conversation with Melanie, because it turns out she had a child that didn't make, like, it was like her child was with her parents, but whoever it was that was supposed to be bringing her child to her didn't get there in time, so it needed to get left behind. So like her child's going, and it's like that's rough. And it's like, Miles can understand. He's like, I lost, my mom when I got on the train, but then I have my train mom, Josie, and it like clicks in her head because I guess ahead of time she didn't know that Josie was his, train mom. I don't think she knew, or either whether she knew or not, it hit her hearing Josie's name because it was just kind of like a reminder of like what she did, also what she's capable of, just to make sure she keeps this secret. And also knowing, Josie's dead, it's like that's another layer to it. It's like she's gone, Miles doesn't know, I'm putting him in this position, I'm not telling him about what happened because it would also involve telling him what my involvement in it. So while that's happening, like I was saying, like the Folgers and Nolan are like, yep, LJ says there is no Mr. And she's like, what? Because they're trying to figure out whether she knew or not. And she's like, no, I've met the man. You've met the man. It's like, yeah, we haven't met him since departure. And I'm like, and now I also appreciate the episode finally giving us a time frame. It's like, so at what point did Mr. Wilford die? Did he die like some point on the train? It's like, apparently we find out later on he's been dead since departure. We'll get to it soon enough. But it's like for her being like, wait, what? Because like she had the monologue this episode, the voiceover at the beginning being like, oh, Mr. Wilford's so great. He came up with all of this. He kept us alive. The engine of his, like, it kept us going. It's like all thanks to him. And, because she's indebted to Wilford because she's like, oh, I'm here now and everything. It's like an encounter with the man led to this. Oh, it shows you how great he is. He supplies us with just enough. He does this and that. Like, the fact is, it's not the same thing. I'm not going as far as saying that referring to him as like this, but he's almost like a god a little bit. It's like, oh, he provides, he gives so much for us, so. And then she's like, people who kind of are against him, obviously referring to the people from the tale. It's like, oh, they're so against him, not realizing the generosity he has. They're the ones that got on board with no ticket, so there's that situation. But for her to hear this, it breaks her. And I was like, granted, it's like, yeah, Melanie's alive, but she's kept the train going the entire time. But to be fair, it's like, it's all built on one foundation of like, because in their mind, it's probably thinking like, oh, Melanie, she grabbed, like, it's like, she took it upon herself to be the one. This was Mr. Wilford's will, and she took it upon herself to run things her own way. That's what they were thinking. Like, oh, it's like, because especially in her eyes, it's like they've all built Wilford up to be this thing, and it's like he has been this guiding hope. And it's like, once again, a myth is so powerful. The man who's like, oh, for the past 7 years has kept us going, has kept us alive. We've been living in his machine. He is the heart of all of this. So it is a thing of all of that, having it all crumble now, it takes its toll because like he was built up in their heads, and just for it to be like, oh, the great powerful Wizard of Oz just got revealed. I wonder, is that the metaphor? Well, because the comic book that this is based on, and I don't know like if it's toe for toe when it comes to this, because I'm sure the show's kind of doing its own thing as well. But I was about to say, because I was like, obviously like the comic book came out in like the 80s, so I was wondering, like I said, that just might be the aesthetic they're going for in the show. Like I said, I've never read the comic book this is based on, but nevertheless, it's just it's that final peeking behind the curtain just kind of gets rid of all the mysticism. And so when the time came, obviously it's like, Ruth, well, for one, Melanie came down and their truth got revealed because they gathered up a lot of people and first and everything. And it's like, well, first and second. And it's like, yeah, Melanie, we heard that there's no Mr. Wilford, that you're running things. And she's like, what? Who'd you hear that from? LJ. Can you really believe her? It's like, oh, I've been to the engine room. It's not really that spectacular. It's just held together by duct tape and stuff like that. It's very like low grade. And she's like, Melanie's you freaking out because it's like, once again, this lie you've held on for 7 years, eventually it was going to come out. It's just like you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, but she's acted in certain ways to prevent this same situation from happening and for it to happen now. And once again, you knew Andre was going to use it in the most opportune situation, but to be fair, I think she thought because she had Miles, that he probably also, like, once again, Josie dying last episode kind of set all this in motion. So I'm sure, obviously it was like a leading factor in all of this. But when it's all said and done, like, LJ shows up the picture of her child. It's like, oh yeah, a picture of her and her dead child, and it's like, that's messed up, considering the fact is, if it wasn't for Melanie, you'd be dead right now. Or, you'd be in a drawer. Because, like, she's the one that pardoned you. There was no Mr. Wilford that did that. That was her. Granted, that was, self-preservation on her part, too. So it's like, almost like, you could tell Melanie was almost about to hit, well, because she was trying to get the picture back. But it was also like, it's probably like, you suck. She's probably like, you suck. I saved your life, you little brat. But Nolan and Ruth are like, we're going to go to the engine room and find out ourselves. So obviously she's able to send a signal being like, lockdown, we need to do this. Javi's supposed to lock it down, but he doesn't. He just keeps the door open. He's like, the fact of the matter is, maybe they'll explain, but Bennett's like, they will kill us, lock it down. And he's like, all right. But then, like, Javi just he leaves the door open. Bennett's like, what the hell did you do? He's like, come on, Bennett punches him and locks him out. He's like, wait, I love that. You say all this about, like, no, we need to explain things. You say that, but the moment he knocked you out and locked you out, you were like, oh, no. Shit got real for you in that moment. No, don't throw me to the wolves, even though I was literally about to throw us to the wolves. Because obviously Javi has just always been, I just assumed it was, I don't know if they called him Javier. I would assume it's just short for that. But regardless, he's the one that's been all about, we should tell, like, he's never been about, like, this lie they're perpetuating because he knew it would piss people off, especially after this long. But it's like, especially after this long, you can't tell people the truth. Like, no. But this is how things work. He admits that Wilfred's been dead since departure, and it's like, okay. So, what I thought was really, really interesting is a conversation between Ruth and Melanie. Because for her, it's like, we were side by side. You were there when I got, like, my, like, awards and stuff like that. It's like, you were there kind of celebrating beside me. I thought we were friends going out for lunch and stuff like that. And it's just, you were laughing at my back the whole time. So she's thinking, like, oh, like, you, like, oh, Mr. Wilford awarded you this, saying, ha, 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 he, he. That's what she thought Melanie was all about. But Melanie was like, no. And it's like, once again, the whole thing about Mr. Wilford having been dead since departure, and she asked the question, like, did you kill him? And I was like, my entire thought was like, oh, he died because, like, probably old age or whatever. And it's like, for Melanie, and I love that we expand upon what she brought up last episode. She even told Joe, she was like, if I had my choice, I wouldn't run this train the way it's run, but I would inherit the train, so I have to run it a certain way. And it becomes true. It's like, but this is Mr. Wilford's, and it's like, she's like, Melanie's like, no, it's not. It's mine. I built this train. You know what Wilford did? Because Wilford's not the great person you think he is. The fact is, the dick stole this from me. And he's like, he sold tickets. For him, he wasn't worried about saving humanity in any shape or form. It was all about the accolades he'd get from, like, all the people he picked obviously were like high society people. So it's like, he just wanted to be surrounded by the rich and powerful, to be like, oh my God, look at me, I'm your savior, haha. So it's showing you that he was an egotistical bastard. So it's like, if I left him in power, we wouldn't have even survived one rotation. So basically saying, like, if it wasn't for me, none of us would be right here right now. You got this, you built it up in your head along with the myth. You've bought into the myth because out of anyone, Ruth, I think, already had that about him. Oh my God, Mr. Wilford, he's so great. Everyone else is just kind of, I guess, along with the lines, but I guess the myth build up to the point everyone's like, okay, but I think Ruth kind of already put him on a pedestal, and Melanie's like, no. So that's what this is all about. She's the engineer and stuff like that. Like, I'm assuming all three of them were the engineers. Like, maybe this started as her baby and then Bennett and Javi got brought aboard, or she brought Javi and Bennett aboard, whatever the case may be. That's gotta be a blow to be like, and for her, it's just like, and it's sad too, because for Melanie, it's like, I've done everything to kind of operate this train the way it should be operated. She's like, I might have done some stuff, but she's like, at the end of the day, I've tried to do what I thought was right. Once again, the only reason why she kept the train operating the way it did, because I like that, because and it's the reason why this social class exists the way it is, the whole ticket situation, was because of Wilford. He's the one that built the foundation, and just to make, because it's like, well, Wilford set this up, I literally have no choice, because if I go against it, people are going to be asking questions about wanting to meet Mr. Wilford, and so, like, at least by keeping things copacetic, keeping things going like the way they are, like, less people will be inclined to look. I mean, but to be fair, that's not sustainable. Eventually, someone's going to want to meet the man, But regardless, hell, she had a good 7-year run. I mean, you wouldn't expect it to last as long as it did, but it's like, damn, dude, that sucks. Especially because it's like, you're forgetting, like, let's not forget, she is one of the engineers in this whole situation, so you might not want to lock her up, because it's like, well, obviously the only people in the engine room right now are Miles and Bennett, so it's like, the thing is, like, there's only, like, no one else on the train knows the train better than they do, and better than she does. And it's like, she even said earlier to Miles, it's like, obviously, like, their rotations are getting slower. Like every couple years, like, they're going, I forgot where they're going. They said it in the episode, I'm blanking. But it's like, they're going somewhere, and it's like, it's taking longer and longer for the revolution. It's like, it's going to be like 22 hours now or something like that. Like, it's a slower revolution, and it's like, because the train, it's like, so she is telling Miles, we got to find a way to kind of keep the train going, because if it stops, we all die, obviously, so. But it's like, she's the one that kept them all going all this time. But for Ruth, all she can see past is like, well, for one, you're a liar and you're a murderer. Because apparently, I was like, okay, so he just died of natural causes. It's like, no, Melanie left him to die. I was like, oh, shit. It makes sense, because it's like, because of this, like, so many people got priority over other people. Like, yeah, there's a whole complicated thing with the tail, but if she had her way, the tail situation wouldn't be what it is. That's a byproduct of what Wilford set up. Like, you made it a ticketed situation of, like, oh, who wants to go to the chocolate factory, Willy Wonka style and everything. So, it's a sad situation. So Ruth is saying that, Melanie will be executed, and it's just like, it all came crumbling down. But all of this is going right according to what Andre wants. So it's like, everybody gets together. It's like, it's time to make this happen. Tila's coming along as well. I love that, because she had to pick a side, and she confronts Jinju about it. Like, at the end of the day, for her, it's like, how much did you know, Jinju? It's like, you knew about Andre getting Jord, and you also know about Melanie. And so it turns into a situation of like, okay, so it's like, how much did you know and when did you find out? I'm gonna kind of be under the impression like Jinju might have known the entire time. Maybe not. But it's also a situation of, she's like, I want you to stay here, because it's like, because Jinju's like, don't make me choose between you and the train. And the moment she said that, for me, it's like, it sounds like you already picked a side. It seems like because it's, yes, you might not like the way things are set up, but things are set up a particular way, and it's kept things in its train going for the past 7 years. You throw that all out of the window, it's just chaos. But that's the thing, and that's even something Andre says later on, is like, we first and second are having an upheaval in the front, so it's like, if we don't do something, one of those SOBs is going to take over the train, and it's just going to be, probably even worse. Maybe it's going to be status quo, or it's going to be potentially even worse. So it's like, we need to make sure we take the train. And obviously, like, I even love, like, it's so neat because, like, Revolutionary looks good on Best. So for her to be a part of this as well, because it's like, she's like, the brakemen are stubborn, in particular Roach. So she's like, I don't want to hurt any brakemen. But, Andre's like, the fact of the matter is, we ain't got no beef with the brakemen. But if it comes down to it, we'll have to, like, fight our way through, because this, there are going to be bodies that drop today. So I even love Home Dude, what's his name, Murray, when he meets, he's like, oh, where's my guy? And it ends up being Audrey, and he's like, oh, he's almost like, holy, what? Holy shit. So I like that. But I like that everyone does have their part to play in all of this. Till is it's like, no, I know you have a lot of distrust, but the fact of the matter is Till is one of us, and kind of gives her the red, because the signal went out, red little cloth everywhere to be like, it's go time, let everybody know, arm up, get ready. And Andre giving that speech was, so powerful. The fact that it kind of gets you hyped too, because you're like, the fact of the matter is, it's time for us to take this train, from them, because this isn't just about them, this is about all of us. And everyone's like, one car. And he's like, no, not one car, one train. And it's like, because they're in this together. It isn't just them versus the entire train. It's like, no, we're in this together. And when the time comes to confront the brakeman, like, they had to, because our Roach was reluctant to believe all of this, but Tilla's like, this is what's really happening. And the fact of the matter is, and Andre speaks to everyone in third, it's like, you might, whether you believe me or not, the fact of the matter is, we are the backbone of this train. Like, if third and the tail are the reason why this train keeps going. So are you going to let them keep, like, basically living the high life off of the backs of your hard work? It's like, no, like, we all deserve a voice in all of this. This isn't just, it shouldn't just be first and second versus the third and the tail. It's like, no, we should all be in this together. Like, the first and second basically had their time. It's everyone's time now. So, and even Roach is like, great. Well, first, Oz ran away because he was like, I'm not about to be about this shit. And then, like, Roach is like, now I got to go tell my wife, like, there is no Mr. Wilford. So he just kind of lets them through. And then, like I said, the attack is happening on multiple fronts. The fact of the matter is, they cut off communications. A lot of the entire episode turns into a massive bloodbath against, like, the security versus the tail and everything. At the same time, like, Murray and Audrey, they're there meeting with the Doctor Dude because they're trying to get everyone out of the drawers, the three that were locked up at the beginning of the show. And they pick up the big dude, and it's like, wait, is that Mandarin? It's like, oh, did he not speak Mandarin before? It's like, no, he didn't speak in general. What the hell is that about? So maybe that was a conscious choice, or maybe no one ever gave him an opportunity to speak. Whatever the case may be, I was like, oh, that's interesting, because Murray's like, what the hell? So there's that. They're trying to wake everyone up, but like I said, the battle gets super bloody. Like, the harpooning was crazy, like stabbing everyone. One dude got stabbed to the leg. He's up there like, my leg. Which immediately makes me think, it's a weird correlation, but anytime I hear my leg, it makes me think of SpongeBob. That random voice in the background, it's always like, my leg. Regardless, it just made me think of that. But it was just like people straight up getting high-powered harpooned. It was nuts. I was like, Jesus, because it's weird, because it's like, man, that's some shit you see out of, like, a video game, like some, like, crazy, like, ragdoll type of shit. Like, it was just, I was like, wow, I just didn't expect it to be the boom impact that it was. I was like, holy shit. So Nolan's trying to lead his own squad, but then they get they get surrounded by Andre and the army, and they lay into him, blood splattering everything. Hell, it gets super bloody. People stabbed through the chest. One lady got her fingers cut off at one point. It's just like I said, things get super bloody. You could tell in that moment, like, Andre, it's like, because for them, it's like, this is about everyone we lost. Josie, all the people they've died in every rebellion they've ever held. But they push forward, and they kind of are able to push the guards back. And it's like a lot of people are there wounded and dead. So it's like, all right, the able body, gather up all the weapons, because we can't stop here. We got to go pushing forward, But, like, tear gas comes in. I mean, who knows what else was in there? I would assume it's just tear gas, but not everyone made it out. So the question is, probably they went in there after everyone was knocked out and probably killed them. What's the dude's name? Big John. After the last harpoon was going, like, he stayed behind, and we can only assume, like, obviously, we see it seems like they're beating him to death. So he made his sacrifice, because I think also for him, it's like, I'm sick. I'm not going to make it anyway. And if I need to sacrifice myself for the one train, then so be it. So while that's happening, they're kind of backed against the corner, and it's just kind of like, and now Andre's taking it all in. And then we find out, like, because I was like, all right, get the last dude out, Pike. They look for Pike, played by, once again, Simon Ogg. And it's like, wait, he's not here. I was like, what the fuck is that? Wait, what? And I was like, has he been an insider the entire time or something like that? But it's like, no, they're treating him up front. And it's like, all right, so you're going to be, Andre better than anyone. It's like, yeah, like Andre's just never liked my approach to things. But for him, it's like, you want to know whatever it takes. It's like, that's so interesting. Because I guess for him, it's like, I made this sacrifice. It's like they were literally coming to wake you up. I wonder, is it because he thinks like, oh, he was never coming for me type of situation? He was leading his charge without me. But like, you were willing to make, like, that's what, but I guess it's like, once again, I mean, it's so interesting too because like there's a little bit of like you see Zara when they're in the night car and looking at everything, but like I'm sure she's not taking this time. I'm sure she's avoiding Andre because she showed Josie out. Not too happy, plus everything that's going down. But eventually, the time's going to come where it's like, actually, I'm pregnant, so it's like that's going to be a whole thing in itself. It's like you're going to be conflicted by like, yeah, this is the woman you once loved who left you behind, who you still have feelings for, but then you also love Josie, and it's like, well, she's responsible for Josie dying. It's like, yeah, but it was Josie or my baby, and it's our baby, and it's just going to be like, that's a whole, it's a whole complicated thing. So there's all of that. So now it's interesting hearing those words from Pike, though. Like I said, it's just interesting that you would just end up being the traitor that you are. Just, I mean, part of me wonders, is he playing along? I doubt it. I think he's in this for himself because it's like, well, he probably doesn't think they're going to win. So it's like, oh, I'm going to milk this situation for what? Because I guess there's also part of him hoping that Andre got at the end of all of this. And it's like, he can be the one kind of lead things. I don't know. It's like, I got Jord because of him and everything. It's all his, I don't know. Him and Andre have long history and beef. So he's just using this as an opportunity to take him down, which is so interesting because so many of your people have already died because of this. So it's like, that's why I'm like, I'm hoping he's playing the long game. It's so interesting, and it's so, I feel so bad for Simon Ogg because let's not forget he's playing back-to-back treacherous douchebags. Because I didn't even think about it until just now, but it's like, let's not forget his character in wasn't his character's name Simon in The Walking Dead as well? I think so. Is his name Simon Ogg? I know it's Ogg. Is it Simon Ogg or is it something else? I might have been calling him Simon. His name is Simon, isn't it? I know his last name's Ogg. I'm blanking. I'm all over the place, dude. Because I keep wanting to think Trevor, but I'm like, no, that's his character's name from GTA 5. God, I'm just all over the place with this. I'm so sorry. Whatever the case may be, it's just, he was kind of treacherous to the saviors in The Walking Dead, so it's just interesting. Comic book property to other comic book property kind of almost being a little similar, which is like, okay, it's just interesting. Because it also made me think that, because it's just, my mind immediately went there. It's like, Andre, the clout, the bandana around his neck and just like a little bit of what he was wearing, I was like, that looks very Negan-ish, if you ask me. But regardless, I just thought that was just, regardless of all of that, it was just interesting that he would just be a traitor. That's all I'm getting at. But nevertheless, with all of that being said, he says that basically Andre is actually a good person at heart, trying to be a good cop, and eventually all this death and destruction, like, it's one thing, it's like, yeah, you believe in a cause and everything, but seeing it firsthand is going to be something else. Like, I guess maybe in the past it kind of broke Andre a little bit too, so he knows Andre enough to be like, oh, this is going to break him. All you have to do is keep pushing, put enough pressure on him, he will eventually crumble. But then you get that look at him at the very end, like, is he going to crumble this time? Because like, he already lost Josie, so this might be, especially with the end so close in sight, like knowing that you have, I mean, granted, you've been pushed back, so the advantage isn't yours as much anymore, but still, it's like, are you going to back down now after everyone that's already died? So many have died, but it's like, you've kind of led the charge, so their deaths are kind of on you, like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And that, obviously, you see that reign so true in this very moment between Melanie and Andre, and the parallels they kind of create in that moment where both of them are just kind of suffering from wearing the crown. So, which also begs the question, what's going to happen with Miles and Bennett up front? And like, obviously, it's like, they have to deal with like this revolution first before they deal with like the engine room and who gets to dictate what goes down. Because obviously the Folgers are kind of like, oh, no. That's they're pining for their own powerful position, but I'm curious how this is all going to end for them. I'm curious to ultimately see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. I'm under the impression this season is only 10 episodes. This was episode 8, I believe, so there's only potentially 2 more. So I'm very, very interested to see where all this ends up taking us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.